You ever had the situation where something happens and all of a sudden you're emotionally triggered? It's kind of like your emotional engine goes from 0 to 100 like that. Your buttons have been pushed, you're triggered, you're angry, and if you're not careful, you can say or do something that really hurts another person. You can say or do something that you regret for a long time. Today I want to talk to you about how to manage your emotions instead of letting your emotions manage you. And like always, I've got my two dogs, Brock and Bennett, along with me on this ride, this walk. Well, a few years ago I learned this tool called the care cycle from Focus on the Family. And this has been such a valuable tool for me when it comes to processing my emotions. The care cycle has 5 A's: awareness, acceptance, asking, assessing, and acting. And what I recommend you do is when you find yourself emotionally worked up, push the pause button, take a time out, and do the 5 A's. Now, the first A is the awareness. Now, this is huge. You become aware that you're triggered. You ask the question, what alarms are going off in my body? Maybe you write down, my mind is racing, my heart is pumping. One of the things that I like to do is to take out a feeling wheel and to identify my emotions. I'm feeling hurt, sad, mad because of the way my boss treated me. Okay? So the first step, and this is huge, is the awareness that you're triggered. I remember I used to get triggered and had no idea what was going on. But since I've trained myself, I can now recognize when I'm triggered, when I'm emotionally worked up. Okay? So that's the first A. Now the second A is acceptance. And again, I would be writing this down in the journal. And this is where you simply, after you've identified your emotions, you now accept them. Now, why would you want to accept them? Well, because one of the things that we can do is, psychology talks about clean discomfort and dirty discomfort. Clean discomfort is when you're anxious and you simply feel the anxiety. Dirty discomfort is when you're anxious, but instead of accepting it, you try to change it. So not only are you anxious, you now become angry that you're anxious. And then you become ashamed that you're anxious. Do you see what's going on? You're adding emotion and emotion and emotion to that anxiety, when if you would have just accepted it, like a wave, our emotions come and go. We need to see our emotions as temporary psychological events. That wave will come in and it'll go out. So I will sometimes just write down in my journal, I accept that I am feeling anxious, okay? Now the next A is to ask. And this is when you ask God for help. Lord, I'm feeling anxious right now. Lord, show me what's really going on underneath the hood. Did you know that our thoughts lead to our feelings, and our feelings lead to our actions, according to the book DNA of Relationships? So in this part, you process your emotions through prayer. You talk to God about how you're feeling. Lord, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling mad. I'm feeling angry. Now the next part is assess. And this is where you open the trunk of the car and look what's underneath the hood. This is where you realize, as one person has said, the external issue is rarely the issue. It's symptomatic of something deeper. So you're probably not upset about that remote control. That's the external issue. It's probably that a deeper fear of yours was pushed, or insecurity. So in the assessment part, you really just ask the question, what's really going on here? And you say, well, why am I feeling this way? And then you ask the most important question, and that is, what is the truth? Now, the final A is when you act. And you basically just say, hey, based on all of these A's, what is the wisest way to respond? Now, here's what I want you to see. If you would have reacted right away, you would have reacted out of your emotional mind. But through this processing with prayer, you enter into your wise mind and you can make a much better choice. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you're a high schooler and someone calls you ugly. All right, you become triggered. Awareness. You just would say something like, I feel insecure that my friend called me ugly. My mind is racing, my heart is pumping, I'm really angry. Okay? The accept part is you would just, again, say to yourself, I accept this emotion. This emotion is a temporary psychological reality. It's like a wave. It'll come and go. I accept it. You then ask, you say, Lord, I'm feeling insecure right now. Lord, I give you this emotion. Please help me. So you pray about it, and then you assess the situation. And what you realize is that as a kid, you were teased because of your red hair. As a result, when someone says something negative about your appearance, that button from the past is pushed. And you realize that that's the deeper issue. And then you're reminded that, hey, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I am God's masterpiece. I am created in the image of God. That's the truth. That's what the Bible teaches. And then the final part is the act part. And this is where you say, hey, I'm just going to pray for that person. I'm going to pray for that person who said the mean words to me. I'm going to pray a prayer of forgiveness over them. Lord, I bless them, I forgive them, and I wish them well. Now, guys, if you were to read over my journals in the last 3 years, you would see these 5 A's over and over and over again. This is one of the most valuable tools that I've learned when it comes to processing life, when it comes to processing your emotions. Well, hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would ask you to kindly subscribe and maybe leave a comment on if this video helped you. Thank you so much for joining me and Brock and Bennett. I pray that you will love God and love your neighbor as yourself.